Hi, everyone. Welcome to Podcasts, the Hidden Figures of Python podcast series. The Podcasts is a series that is created by me, Georgie, and here there's Chuck, Teresa, and Marietta, all four of us coming together to highlight voices from underrepresented group members of the Python community. Now, we follow the PSF Code of Conduct to help interactions and to keep Python a positive, successful, and growing community. If you would like to know more about the details of the Code of Conduct, you can head out straight onto https://pypodcats.live/conduct. A little bit of self-introduction. My name is Georgie, and I am hosting today live at Porto, Portugal. Normally, I'm in Amsterdam. And to you, Chuck.
Hi, I'm Chuck, and I live in London. I love Python. I am a Py lady. I don't know. Yeah, I'm addicted to Python. Then we have our guest today, Jessica. Hello, Jessica.
Hello. So thanks for having me on, you two. My name is Jessica. I'm a open source maintainer primarily of like different Python projects. I am in Denmark right now, but I love to travel and I love to go to different conferences, mostly as a speaker, but I also really want to just go to more as an attendee. So I'm all over the place. But yeah, right now I'm in Denmark where I live.
Super. Yeah. So actually, our first question was to ask Jessica to describe herself. I think she literally described herself already. So we are going to skip the first question.
Yeah, actually, Jessica and I met in a conference in Bilbao, and she was speaking there. So yeah,
it was my first time speaking, and I had 2 lovely talks there. It was great.
Wow! So from the first time you spoke until now, how many talks have you given?
So at physical conferences, I have done those 2. I've also done a few interviews, and I have done a few live streams with some other people, and I'm working on a lot of different stuff that's coming in the next weeks and next couple of months.
Wow, sounds like a very busy schedule.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So let's rewind all the way back to the beginning. How did you first get in contact with a computer?
Yeah, how did I first get in contact with a computer? Yeah, I feel so old, but then yet again, not really. So how did I first get in contact with a computer? It was like many probably. I lived at home. I was 5 or 6 when I started playing video games on the computer. I started playing age-appropriate video games. It was age-appropriate.
Oh, I play a lot of age-inappropriate video games when I was
kid, but it's mostly it's like there's a lot of video games where people in their start teens will play them, even though they are rated for 16 or 18 plus, which is not what I did at the time. It's totally innocent.
Yeah. Also, Jessica is very young, so probably it's easier to have a computer at home when you're younger.
When I say video games, it was very much very basic, images on the screen. You click on things, they do flashy things, and that's it. It wasn't anything near as realistic as they are now.
Not Tetris.
It was I want to say worse than Tetris. It was worse than Tetris level. I said it was the family computer on the small, on the slow dial-up connections. That was great.
We all have memory of those. And you have to fight over the phone line. You have to like ask your mom to not use the phone while you're on the internet.
Yeah, the great thing was that I mainly played offline games, so I didn't care about my mom having hour-long conversations with the rest of the family over the phone.
That is great.
Yeah. But yeah, I fell in love from the very first moment. I really got to use a computer. They had to sometimes drag me away from it.
So how do you actually start coding, like writing, learning how to program and stuff like that?
Yeah. So now I'm really going to age myself a lot, which honestly it's not really a secret how old I am. It's very out there. So around 14 years ago, when I was a little girl at 10 years old, yeah.
That's not that old.
I know. Do the math. I already had one midlife crisis, so you can do the math. I started playing a very blocky game that many people probably know, Minecraft.
Oh, yeah.
And me and my friends had a lot of fun with it, like when we were sitting together, but we wanted to be able to play together when we were not physically together. So I looked into how to make a server for us. So we just started playing on a server normally, and then we thought it was really fun to build stuff and host games and so on. So we started opening it up to the public, and a year, 1.5 years later, we were running one of the biggest server networks here in Denmark with 300-400 concurrent players during peak hours, and that included me. I was the primary tech. I was the only tech person, more or less, and the
primary only
tech person. So I had to learn a lot about networking, and then I saw a lot of international videos of people playing Minecraft as well, where they played on these big servers that had custom stuff, and I was looking at it, and I was like, how can I make stuff like that? So I looked into it, and I saw there's like this entire server modding, like you could write plugins in Java to the server, where you could add custom logic, and then from that I just started learning programming. And now, and again, just like the original falling in love with the computer, I fell in love with programming.
Oh, that's cool.
And then how did it step into like Python?
Well, great question. Fast forward another 3 or 4 years, me and my friends were getting older. We kind of started losing interest in Minecraft, and I also had coded a lot of Minecraft-related stuff, mostly for the server side. But I wanted to get into more general programming because I really loved learning about tech. I really love programming. I figured I wanted to make desktop applications because I was on a computer. I could use a computer, so I wanted to make stuff that I could use on the computer. And I started trying to do that in Java, and it worked. I'm very impressed that I got it to work, but it worked. But it was very clunky, and I wanted something better. So I researched it, and Python immediately came up, and I looked into UI libraries. I looked into auto-updating of desktop applications and stuff like that. And then I tried writing my first program in Python that just did something simple. I always started with a calculator, and then I converted it into a UI calculator, all in Python with auto-updating. I was super proud of myself, and then it just took off from there, and it spiraled completely out of control into this thing I've gotten myself into now.
Yeah. So you started Pypandoc, right? Or you're taking someone's project and maintaining it?
Yeah, I took it over. So yeah, I took it over.
Could you tell us more about Pypandocs? Because I also don't know much about it, and where you're maintaining this library, so you must know the best about it.
Yeah, sure. So there is a CLI tool called Pandoc that is a universal document converter that uses the Markdown format to convert between more or less any other format you can think about, anything from HTML to Word to PDF to PowerPoint to Wiki to open document format, to all the different formats you might want to use. And then you have Markdown as the intermediary format where you actually write your document contents. Of course, in Python we love having Python libraries to do everything. We don't want to call external stuff if we have a Python library for it. So way back when I wanted to make a text editor for the blind, because I'm myself is totally blind, so I wanted to make a text editor where I could control the visual formatting much better than I could at the time people at the time could in Word or other like mainstream text based text-based editors. And it was also before like stuff like VS Code and stuff like that really came out. So I found Pypandoc, which was this Python wrapper around Pandoc that made it easy to work with from Python. And I utilized that to basically power my text editor. And then I saw that he wasn't updating it anymore, and I started making more and more like issues and pull requests that got accepted, but like he had kind of like not worked on it for a while. So I just at one point emailed him and asked, hey, if you're not planning on updating it anymore, is it okay if I take it over? Because I can see it's still very widely used and I love it and I would love to maintain it. And he was like, yeah, sure, I'm just going to talk to the other maintainer. He was also okay with it. And then they transferred the GitHub repository and the package index publish rights to my account. And the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
I mean, being even to like normal, any one of us being a maintainer is already really tough. But like you not being able to like see and still being able to maintain the whole project, that is like so inspiring for so many people around there, you know.
Yep.
I'm just curious, despite all these challenges, how do you continue to learn and like to improve? Are there any like difficulties or things like that along the way?
When there's text-based tutorials are always the best, because I read approximately twice as fast as an average human reader. I read around 600 to 700 words a minute. So I can take in information.
That's 4 times faster than me.
4 times. Yeah, YouTube can only allow 2 times speed. It's not fast enough.
Fair enough. So when there's text-based tutorials for stuff, I can take in information really fast. Generally speaking, I haven't had a problem learning because there's a lot of books on the topic. There's a lot of articles on the topic that I've been consuming. Mostly articles. I'm not really a big book person, but many articles, many tutorials, and just experimenting. Recently, though, what I've gotten into is a little more graphical in nature. So that's a little more difficult, but I'm getting the hang of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I also heard from Chuck that you've contributed to poetry. So could you just tell me a little bit more about your contribution and what is poetry?
So poetry is a dependency manager and a build tool all in one. It basically wraps around and makes virtual environments for all your projects. You have this poetry file where you can add and update dependency with a CLI command, and then you can build and publish your packages to the package index or a custom index, all from poetry. So it's a CLI tool like many others, but there's a bunch of them these days. But poetry, at least what I found, was really the first big one to break through. What other people were using other than the combination of pip, virtual env, and setup tools.
I'm kind of very interested in your experience, because I am pretty sure that your experience is very different from mine. From we say that we play video games when we were a kid to maybe now we go to conferences. When you talk about you play Minecraft, I'm quite interested about how the experience, because from my experience, Minecraft, you have to control your character, you have to build this block and things like that. And but for someone who uses a screen reader, what's your experience? Do you found it very easy or very hard to control, or things like that?
Yeah, so the little extra nuance was that I lost the rest of my sight when I was 18, so in 2018. So back in the day, when I was playing Minecraft, I could see a little bit. Like we're still talking like 2 or 3%. So it was like nothing groundbreaking, nothing near getting a driver's license or anything. But I could see enough, and that was important because Minecraft, by nature, had very high color contrast, like unintentionally. So it was much easier to see and play around with compared to many other games.
Yeah,
Right.
because I know some games now they have these like high contrast options for folks who need high contrast as well. But unfortunately, not all of them has. It's just like other technology, like websites. Some of them are screen reader friendly. Some of them are not really.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah. But how about conferences? Like, is it I guess it must be like very challenging for you to be far away from home and go to a event that is full of people, but maybe not everybody knows your need and stuff like that. So
I'm lucky that I have a lot of things working for me. I love traveling, first of all. I love, especially traveling by plane. I love that. The second is I'm a huge extrovert. I'm pretty sure Chuck can.
Oh, we can hear that and see that.
I'm pretty sure Chuck can sign off on that. You saw me be around people in Bilbao, so
we were having fun at the cocktail party, like the drinks party that we have so many like Spanish food and
Yes, it was an interesting experience.
Okay, sounds like there's some brackets behind. So I'm also curious when you're talking about attending a conference, like before you attend a conference, do you actually like read to see if they have specific like accessibility accessibilities?
This has been the entire freaking day.
Yes,
try it again.
I'm not very good with S's. So accessibilities.
It's okay.
Like, do you actually read like and check before you attend any conference? Like, okay, are they friendly to people with disabilities, or is there any actually? Do you read like before you attend a conference?
I always try to find something, I always try to find something, but it's very rarely, if at all, they ever have it publicly available. I've never seen a conference where they have this accessibility info readily available for what they do with people that has physical disabilities. I've resorted to just writing them an email.
Wow.
So far, that's been very successful. Also, to let them know that you're coming and that you're, like in my case, that I'm fully blind, and that I'm attending, and I'm like in my case that I'm a speaker, or whatever. Just like, hey, can we do something? Can we figure something out? And they've always been very good at the whole accessibility. But I just wish that information was more readily available, so people that maybe not was as just like out there going as I am also know that, hey, there's actually things that they're going to do.
Yeah, that's true. Like I know that you are very outgoing and you're like don't mind emailing and taking one step forward to ask. But I think if someone who may also have other needs, or they feel a little bit, there's an extra step. Like we should make it easier for people who need extra help.
Yeah. So organizers for conferences out there, if you're hearing this podcast, please make a little effort to just write down what you can provide for the potential attendees so that they will feel comfortable.
Yeah, I'm actually working on something like that, and are reaching out and looking for conference organizers. I'm actually working on something like that, so there's like hopefully a place where people can see other people's experiences and also just see what conference organizers have said that they are capable and capable to do for people with physical disabilities.
Yeah. That's so true. I think it's a very good message to get out. As like, we organize a lot of things. We also know a lot of people organize a lot of things. And that's a very, very good point. And I hope, all of us is doing better than that. So what do you think about AI? Because I know that, like, maybe for you, like, a lot of technology helped you a lot in daily life. So what do you think about AI technologies? Do you think it will help you more, or do you think it will take your job as a developer or things like that?
Yes. So another to kind of answer that question a little, like I would love to take a little tiny detour and just say there is one thing I totally didn't mention in my intro, and it wasn't for any various reasons. I just totally also forgot to mention it. So by like on my day to day, I am a student. I'm a computer science student, and I'm by that I'm surrounded by other computer science students that are many of them are just learning, and it can get really tiresome when instead of actually trying to look into and try to solve the problem, which was what I fell in love with programming and tech, they just write a question to ChatGPT or just paste code into ChatGPT and say, "Hey, why isn't this working?"
Yeah.
That like it's so sad to see that this technology is really great. It's changing a lot of lives, but for most people, it's just, of course, it's where it's going, but they don't. I feel like they just most of what I see around me on my day to day is just people don't really have that problem solving mentality so much anymore. Especially if you're just starting out. That's the whole point of studying computer science. Is this you need to learn and train this problem solving skill. And if every problem just be, just ask ChatGPT, like if every solution just becomes, just ask ChatGPT, then it just kind of falls apart. And also I can see that very quickly, because the second that ChatGPT can't give you an answer that works, like it falls all on the ground. I really just wanted to like get out with that. But that said, for me, it's really changed.
That's a very good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. A little funny story. This will reveal how much older I am as compared to you.
Yeah.
Is that my daughter, she's in the university, and the moment so the moment when ChatGPT just came out, they are receiving, schools, you have reports and you need to write reports. And it seems like everyone just suddenly improve in writing.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of realize that the teachers and all this were like, okay, this is weird that before that you couldn't do it, and now suddenly all my students are doing really well. And you can hear kids talking about it and say like, you know what, yeah, just ask ChatGPT to fill up. They can do perfect reports for us.
Yeah, and it's really sad because this technology has really changed many lives, my own included. I love, especially for more advanced topics I don't know that much about, I love to be like in tech, all of it mostly. I love talking with ChatGPT because it has, even though it might sometimes come up with dumb information that's not accurate, it has a lot of training data, so it has a lot of stuff it can pull from. Also, the feature I probably use the most is either image generation or even more so image description. So I can take a picture with my phone and I can get the AI to describe the image, and then I can ask it follow-up questions to that description or to the image specifically. And I use that daily.
Wow, I love that idea. Yeah, speaking about that, I'm just going to bring back about the tools that you use. I'm sure there are people out there who are computer science students with similar disabilities like you. So maybe you can suggest to them like what kind of tools which you're using that is like really useful.
Well, yeah, of course. So first of all, I can't believe I didn't mention this sooner, but first of all, there's of course my screen reader that I use every day to actually interact with my computer, called NVDA. It stands for Non-Visual Desktop Access, and they are also open source. And NVDA, the screen reader, is actually also written in Python.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Woohoo.
Yes. I use that every day, and it's been
Yeah.
like that piece of software alone has changed my life and has made me like be able to do all this stuff that I do every day, from coding to playing games to delivering presentations up on a stage in front of one or two people. Okay, there's probably more, but I can't see how many there is.
Come on, one or two. I don't think it's only one or two.
Listen,
That's us.
I can't see how many people are there, so I do not be nervous. I just tell myself there's probably only 5 people there, and they'll
Oh.
comment. And then at the end, they all clap, and I'm like, whoa, that was more than 5. Oh yeah, that happened. That happened to me at Bilbao. That's a funny story. You can get that later. Well, yeah. Then I use Visual Studio Code to write all my code. I use the terminal for a lot of stuff. I use WSL for all Linux stuff because it's still on Windows, so I get all the accessibility, but I get this Linux server basically. Well, I don't know if there's any like blind specific tools, and it's just probably the more of what most people do. I use GitHub, I use an internet browser. Yeah.
What is your favorite browser? Which browser is the best?
Well,
The hot topic. Like,
very hot topic. No, yeah, because it is a hot topic. It's almost as bad as pineapple and pizza, like the pineapple and pizza debate. So I use the Chromium-based Edge browser as my primary browser because you get all the good stuff on Chrome that Chrome has to offer. You get all that goodness, and all the websites think you're running Chrome, so they don't say, "Hey, you should download Chrome for the most optimal experience." So you get all the features and you get all the goodies, and you can even run Chrome extensions on the Chromium Edge browser, but you don't get the massive memory and CPU overhead that Google Chrome has.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I do, and I love it.
Cool. Yeah, open source for the win.
Yay! Yeah,
Yay.
open source all the way.
I don't think we have a browser these days that are not open source, now that I think about it. All 3 major browsers are open source.
That's true. So, other than coding and programming, tell us a little bit more about how you stay sane in life. Like, do you stay sane by drinking a cup of coffee or tea, or do you like to go for regular walks or DJ?
I'm very boring. I go to school, work with coding, come home, work with coding. I go to bed. I don't sleep about and dream about code anymore, luckily. But then I wake up and do the same thing. And yeah, when I try to stay safe, when I try to stay sane, I basically go on and talk to my online friends while I code. So yeah, other than that, yeah, I travel. I like traveling when I can, but most of it is to conferences, and that's fine because it doesn't feel like I'm working, and it doesn't feel like I'm coding. Even when I'm speaking, it's just so much fun, and I get totally rejuvenated at being around people and a community physically. I had no idea how like great it was going to be for me until I was there physically and tried being in an actual conference. It was great, and it gave me so much energy. So that's probably the primary bigger things I do. So on this like day to day, I usually just stop coding. I watch YouTube here and there, and but even that bores me relatively quickly. And I play a video game for an hour or two, and then I get bored and think about how I can mod it and stuff. So then
Maybe you should write your own game. Like, if
You should write your own games.
Working on it. I'm already working on it. Don't worry. That's already in the works. I wish I was joking about that, but I'm not.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
let
but
us
the
know
bad
when it's launching.
give me
Yeah.
like 2 years. The bad thing about the game industry is that like big tools like Unity and Unreal Engine, like the two big ones, are not accessible. So I have to write my own game engine. Yeah.
Oh
So I
wow.
have to like grab C++ or Rust or something like that, or Python. Probably not Python because it doesn't have all the cool libraries yet. So
Yeah.
not for
You can
gaming anyway.
create them.
I could, but then I need to maintain even more wrappers. And
Then it become a long quest, a side quest.
yes, listen, I even while doing it in C++, I still have to create my own game engine from scratch. So yeah, that's what I have to deal with if I want to make a game.
Yeah.
So people out there, if you want to join forces with Jessica to create game engine, just contact her.
Yeah, the thing about it is even the open source ones, they are not really that great with accessibility. Even the games that they can create are typically not great for with accessibility either. So to make an actual accessible game engine that can also produce accessible games, that needs to be like pretty much done from scratch. And that's why like I'm primarily making a game engine that focuses on audio only based games. So there's no visuals, it's just pure audio.
What genre of game do you like? Is it like horror or is it like adventure or
So the two genres that I'm aiming for the game engine to support is most of it is 3D open world of some kind. So it's either going to be RPG style games or it's going to be first person shooter type games.
wow.
Sounds really interesting. There's so many games out there that depend so much on like looking at stuff, but we are so much more than that, you know. We can actually use our voice. We can actually even smell. Why didn't anyone create games related to smell? That would be so cool.
Yeah, so luckily the last couple of years, a lot of game studios, like bigger game studios, have started to implement good accessibility features. That's why I've been able to actually play video games again. I've finally been able to just relax with a video game. But I've basically been in the whole modding or running, like doing something techie with a video game that now it's just so ingrained in me that I can't just not do that and just play a game and have fun. I always figure, okay, what can I do? Can I mod this? Can I run a server for this? Can I write something custom for that server? Like it's just like can you just like shut off for like 10 minutes while I just relax and be stupid in this game where I smash around in a car and race against other cars and stuff. But no, I have to be able to mod it, apparently.
Yeah.
Jessica, the problem solver.
Yeah. I'm creating a problem and then I'm trying to solve it.
It's like the chef can't enjoy a good dinner because they will be criticizing the dish.
Yeah, I had the same when I was taking a music study class in high school. And then like a month in, I started like just unintentionally analyzing the music I was listening to. And I was just like, nope, stop it. This is not
So do you still play music?
yeah, I actually have a MIDI piano keyboard right over to my right that's hooked up to my computer. So if I ever want to play something, I do actually, yeah.
So one last question is, what's your next big thing, ideally in Python? So what's your next exciting contribution to the community?
I'm really hoping that I get to go to my first Python specific conference this summer. I applied to be a speaker. I sent out a few CFPs. Hope they get accepted because if they are, I will also be going to my first Python specific conference. So that's the first main thing.
Yeah. Also for conferences who are looking for keynote speaker, there is a candidate.
Yeah, you know there is a candidate here.
Also, I have massive stage fright, so like being a keynote, being a regular speaker is hard enough. Being a keynote speaker,
Oh, don't worry. There's only there's only two people on the
Yeah.
state
No,
in the
maybe I can upgrade
crowd,
it to
not to
like
worry.
maybe I can upgrade it to like 8 people.
Yeah, less than
Yeah,
10,
it's a
you know.
keynote. 8 people
Yeah,
is
it's a keynote.
normal.
Yeah, but here's
Yeah.
the issue. Usually at keynotes, they actually present you and like they say your name and then they clap first, so I can get a way too good idea of how many people are actually there. No, like yeah, if people want, I would love to come out and talk about a lot of things. I have a lot of things to talk about, and I talk a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
So if they want to reach out to you, how do they get to reach out to you? Like,
Social media.
Yeah, so there is my website, jessicategner.com, and they can always write me an email, jessica@jessicategner.com, or they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. All of the stuff is very easy to find on my website. And yeah, LinkedIn, GitHub, email. Yes, that's the the ones.
perfect. Sounds great. So thank you so much, Jessica, for coming over here and telling us about your journey from zero to hero.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you can find us on pypodcats.live. That is PYPODCAT, like male podcasts, not podcast, dot live, LIVE, or on PSF YouTube channel, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. So catch up with you during the next episode. So my name is Georgie.
And I'm Chuck, and our guest.
Jessica.
Woo!
Yay!
See ya
Yeah.
next time. Bye.
See ya.
Bye bye.